Going back to your supplement company, right? Your mindset and everything seems, it's like built around all these philosophies and then checking yourself and piecing them all together to live how your character lives, right? So what was the idea? Obviously, you're a big performance athlete, right? What was the idea in creating this supplement company? Was there a need that you saw for yourself personally or in the supplement industry? What was the whole methodology behind it and the sourcing of supplements? Like what did that look like?
Yeah, it's an interesting concept as far as like developing the electrolyte supplement, because it's a big industry out there. There's a lot of supplements that have been coming up recently when it comes to electrolytes. Most of them, I would say, they come from bad data.
The research on them comes from bad data.
Yes. Like they're formulas.
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily say that they're doing out of malice or any aspect of it. I think usually people tend to do stuff out of, like, the negative aspect of individuals tend to come out of ignorance and not malice, which we tend to think the other way around.
Definitely.
Yeah. But regardless, back in the 1950s, right, there was all these studies, especially this major study done by the World Health Organization looking at hydration, and it was mainly focusing on infants, right, like little kids. They'll have like major diarrhea and they became extremely dehydrated. They were looking at forms of how to improve the hydration levels, right? So they developed, they came out with different formulas. Eventually they realized that by adding sugar to the minerals, right, to the electrolytes, it would improve hydration. So you absorb it a lot better through the stomach. So that's sort of like stuck around since Gary came out, and then like eventually more and more electrolyte companies did the same thing. They follow suit, which is the idea of adding a bunch of sugar to the electrolyte in order to increase the absorption rate, which to an extent is true. It does improve absorption pretty significantly, actually. But it does it by also having all these negative effects of high sugars, right? Like increases insulin, there's all these negative connotations associated with that. So there's better studies nowadays, there's better data looking at other forms of absorption for electrolytes and minerals. And we looked at a bunch of different articles, a bunch of different studies, and we came out with our formula, which is using amino acids instead of sugar. So we removed the sugar. If you remove the sugar, now you have to add something else in order to create that absorption rate. And we came out with specific amino acids, right? Like glutamine, beta-alanine, and citrulline malate. This 3 amino acids have been shown over and over again to improve hydration in individuals, both in animal studies and human studies. So it's phenomenal. We found that out. We took it even higher as well, because we aim for optimal, not only optimal nutrition, but also like the most bioavailable sources and sources that are phenomenal for the environment as well. So we figure that amino acids work extremely well, but there's an issue with the amino acid industry as well, is that most of them, they come from China, right? And they're not necessarily very well regulated. The way they're formed as well, it's a very dirty process. It's done out of like human hair, duck feathers, and animal fur. And the process is a very dirty process. They use a bunch of like very low pH chemicals, so it's very acidic, right? And then all this stuff goes back into the environment. So it's very detrimental, it uses a lot of energy. And we looked at another source, how we can improve the amino acid content without having all these negative effects to the environment and to the individual. So we found this company, which is called Ajinomoto, which is the original fermented amino acid company, right? There's a Japanese company based out of the US, and they're phenomenal, by far the best medical grade amino acids. So it took us a while, but we formed a partnership with them. So we're extremely excited. Then we looked at the other aspect of the supplements, right, which is the minerals. And we ended up forming a partnership with this company called Redmond Real Salt. And their thing is that for salt, like the importance of salt is extremely important, especially on electrolytes, because the basic concept of it. We ended up, yeah, 1 second. The main notion of it is that most salts, they are, when you think of like pink Himalayan salt, have you guys heard of that? The issue with that salt is extremely clean, right? It's a clean source of salt, but it does have its own issues with it. It's the way that it's being farmed. They use dynamite. It's a very dirty process. So Redmond real salt is the only salt based out of the U.S. that comes from a dried up ocean from like millions of years ago. The way they pull it out of the earth is extremely clean, and it's covered by volcanic ash, so it has a bunch of like micro minerals and stuff like that as well. So we partnered up with them as well. So now we have these two phenomenal companies, and it was just a matter of combining that and finding a manufacturer that would be able, FDA approve all these different things. Another important aspect is getting a third party tested as well to make sure of purity and all these different things. So eventually we combine everything together into our formula.